Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Primetime Strategy. Today, I'm going to provide a bit of a rundown on some of the better or the sort of more official competitive maps, particularly the one-on-one maps that are included in mostly original Total Annihilation. I played a bunch of games of OTA over the last week or so, and yeah, I feel like there's some stuff on a lot of these maps that maybe some people haven't considered or haven't been taking advantage of. So I just thought I'd have a quick chat about some of these more legendary maps. First is Sherwood. Player 1 spawns middle left, player 2 spawns top right. There's a bit of an imbalance on this map in that player 1 spawns in a sort of dense forest, whereas player 2 spawns in quite a big wide clearing. But the map it's pretty balanced. I mean, most of the actual fighting happens in this middle third. Basic strategies here might be so player 1 can go straight down south and expand into that big open area at the bottom. Player 2 can move around this top hill into the top left of the map. Combat can be happening all over the middle. Always, you can build artillery on top of the hills, for a little bit of extra advantage. Player 3 hypothetically would spawn in the bottom left of the map, and down there are 3 full-sized metal deposits that you can take advantage of. So it can sometimes be a sort of race to see who can take the bottom left portion of the map. Other than that, there isn't much else to say about it. It's riddled with trees, fairly open. That's about it. Moving on. The next map is Darkside, where player 1 spawns in the sort of bottom of the left-hand third, and player 2 spawns about middle right. The map is very, very clearly divided between a dark side and a light side. It's pretty rich with metal, it's pretty open, there aren't actually any hills, there's not a lot of natural cover on this map, almost at all. Some various metal deposits all around. This is about as basic as it gets for a one-on-one skirmish. It's one of my favourite ones to start on if I'm sort of locking in for some TA for the night. Games should be over in less than 10 minutes. There's not much depth to this one. Up next is an old school favourite of mine, Gods of War. This one is a legendary 1v1 map, but it works extremely well for a 2v2 or a 4-player free-for-all. It's a water map made up of continents that border the edge of the screen. Player 1 begins in the middle right, and player 2 begins in the bottom left. This map, it's all about map control on this one. The two big strategies here to employ are either expanding into the ocean and trying to control the map like that, or capturing as many of these islands as you can and trying for something else. Debatably might have a bit of an advantage here as they've got a Tech 1 and a Tech 2 K-bot that are both amphibious. So that can get tricky. But with Mayhem, there are things like, floating Guardian Towers, floating Dragon's Teeth. There's all sorts of Navy constructions that you can pull off. This is the Desert Triad. It's one of the most legendary maps I've ever played. I love this map. It's an absolute staple. Player 1 begins in the bottom left. Player 2 begins in the middle right, and if you're playing with 3 players, the third player will begin on the top left on the other mesa. Basic strategies on this map is if you're playing a 1v1, it's essentially a race to see who can control the third mesa. But with 3 players, alright, if you're playing as player 1, I would suggest you move into the bottom of the bottom third. There's some space down there that you can work in, and if you try to go up, you might get cut off by the third player, or you can race up to that third mesa if you're on your own. Player 2, the red player, I suggest moving straight up into that big open clearing in the top right of the map. It's extremely cramped. I think it's the smallest map that I'm discussing today. So if you plan to do armies, like roving, moving, patrolling armies, then I suggest avoiding big armies of cheap units and instead try to move into the middle game with smaller groups of much more powerful units. Try to get Tech 2 if you can. This is Metal Heck. It's a classic 1v1 metal map. Player 1 begins at the top of the map over on the left-hand third. Player 2 begins almost symmetrically opposite at the bottom right-hand third. And play is all amongst these little metal mesas, which provide obstructions and obstacles and barriers for artillery shells and stuff. It's very much a tank battle map. If I had to guess, I think the designer of this map thought, look, it would be easy for any player on a metal map to go straight for artillery and just start shelling their opponent, but with all these little mesas all around, your shells are very unlikely to hit wherever they're going. So the key here is very, very fast, very, very versatile little armies, have little groups all patrolling around. Play for map control as you would normally do, but push your front line forward with construction bots so that you can always build up Guardian and Defender towers and try and keep your artillery up as close to the enemy as you can. Try and box them in to win. This is Acid Foursome, and I think it's the only non-original TA map that I'm including today. Player 1 starts up in the very top left, and Player 2 starts in the very bottom right. It's about as balanced as it can get. This map is also covered in metal, although it doesn't look quite like it. Although the metal deposits that are on the map are, in a lot of cases, quite small metal deposits that would give minimum return. But there are some big metal deposits, most often sort of in the middle of the map, as is classic for TA. Play here, well, it's very, very open. It's actually a very viable strategy to go for your big berthas and for your Tech 2 long-range tanks. Fairly soon. Also, it's a good one for rushing as well if you're a fan of that type of super high intensity play early on in the game. And the Acid Foursome also serves extremely well for some free-for-all 4-player action. I mean, I've played games on this that have lasted for ages, where 3 or 4 players are just boxed into their corners and they're all just fighting for little outposts all across this map. And it's also tiny. It's a small map and just crazy fun on its own. This is Coast to Coast, another classic 1v1 map. You're not really a good TA player unless you can win consistently on this map. It's tough, there's not a lot of metal on it whatsoever, and also it's a small map, so there's not a lot of room to place a whole bunch of surplus solar plants so that you can build up your metal makers. Instead, you gotta master the art of using finite resources to maximum efficiency. This includes extremely powerful units on this map would be a swarm of bombers, like a small swarm of bombers, submarines. Oh my god, submarines on this map. You could also try to do things like rush your first fusion plant if you can, and then you sort of have the freedom to build berthas and stuff. If you can get a big bertha built, and that's debatable, the quickest way to get a big bertha built, but I played a match very recently where I tried the quickest path I knew to get a big bertha, and I was still overrun by Navy right up at my shore, just shelling my base. So, hey, if anyone has a demo they'd like to show me where someone's won with a big bertha rush at the start, I'd love to see it. But other than that, I mean, my winning strategy here is to go Navy and just try and build some floating Dragon's Teeth, sort of all around the middle of the map. Try and block off enemy Navy as much as you can. Finally, is Lava High Ground. Wow, is this about crazy? Player 1 starts top left, player 2 will start bottom right. But as you can see, it's plainly a 4-player map where there are 4 quadrants where a player can spawn. Each quadrant has exactly 3 metal deposits, but the middle is dense with metal and it has a geothermal plant there. So the game here is whoever holds the middle should effectively win the game. You also can't build Navy between the quadrants because obviously it's lava and ships won't float on lava. Air could be viable. There is also quite a bit of space for solar plants to do that alternative resource trick, except the sort of knobbly nature of the land might make it a little difficult to place things. Guardians are the plasma battery towers placed right at the bottleneck, just firing down that line with a radar tower so that they could target beyond their line of sight, will sort of hold off your bottleneck pretty well. I don't think there are any terrestrial units that can cross lava. I think it's pretty much, it might as well be a wall between the quadrants, but air units certainly can fly over them. So you can do some really sneaky backdoor stuff if you think you're safe to do it. Be careful of the late game here though. Try and keep an eye on your actual army's numbers because you could very quickly be overrun by a unit that's just been stocking up. Okay, that wraps up the competitive map rundown, I think. They're all the maps that I play very, very regularly. They're all part of a map pool of this LAN party that I played in, Jesus, about 15 years ago. Wow. And I've just played them ever since. All my friends play them, and most of the community knows these maps pretty well. There are others too. I mean, Comet Catcher, Painted Desert, Duke, even. There are plenty of maps that are just too much fun to leave out of a list like this. But for now, these are your 1v1 duel maps, and you can't go wrong. Well, that's it from me this week. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. It encourages me to make more videos more regularly, and it's a lot of fun for me to do. So yeah, if any of you guys want to have a game, if anyone's watching this and wants to play some 1v1s or just chat over Skype, shoot some shit about Primetime Strategy or Total Annihilation, feel free to drop me a line, and I'll talk to you guys soon. See you next time.